Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and welcome to another ENFP male interview. Today I get to interview Adam. So Adam, welcome, man.
Hey.
So Adam, can you tell us what your full type is?
So it's double feminine, ENTJ jumper, so T-I-S-I, play, consume, sleep, blast. So almost the same type as Shan, except that I'm double feminine.
Got it. And what did you think and how did you feel when you got your results back?
So at first, I was quite. I think I did not suspected that. Like I was aware that the results that I will get in will probably the very opposite of what I have typed myself as, and it was the case. However, I have never really suspected that I could be that particular type, and so I had some like few last days I have spent that only on processing, and now I think that I see why they could type me that way.
Got it. And so what type did you originally think you were? Because you said you type yourself backwards. So did you think you were an IP of some sort?
I thought that I'm probably MoP INFJ, so I thought that I'm sleep, consume, blast, play, NITI, double feminine. And also that was like my most recent guess, but before that I thought about TISI, also like sleep, consume, sleep, blast, play, which was like more similar to what I got, but yeah, like the most recent guess was with that lead and I, which is like I said upside down and backwards, because as I analyzed my type that I got from Dave and Shan, actually the NI seems to be the weakest part because it is not activated like FI, which is double activated and masculine. So it is actually quite strange thing for an IJ, but yeah.
All right, let's go over your parts. So let's start with extrovert thinking. You have feminine extrovert thinking, and that's your first function. So how do you experience feminine extrovert thinking and its first?
That I'm very movable with people, so that I have never experienced something like big dramas that are typical representation of masculine TIs or lead masculine TIs. And I think that that may be the reason why I have not suspected that I am this particular type, because I have an impression that in OP community, when people are talking about EJs or especially EJs with TI, they are mostly focusing on those with masculine TI, which is quite like aggressive, pushy, and energetic. And the feminine TI, I think, is quite different, and that difference may actually be the cause why I don't saw myself as an EJ. But yeah, two things. So I see that first, I'm movable with the tribe to the point it seems almost like double deciding, but the tidal waves are there, so it's not quite double deciding. And also that when I have to do something, I'm usually just jumping into it and trying all of the different ideas and grabbing the one that works.
Yeah.
And like I'm feeling very comfortable to jump into the situation in which I don't have any knowledge or experience, and then try different things, search something very quickly. Like that's very skibby way to do things, and then find what works and how to do that, and immediately adapt that way of doing something.
Would you say that's also because you are a tester, so you like to experiment and try different things, with your sexual modality?
I have not thought about that, but yeah, it could be. It makes sense.
It sounds like it. And so you like to expend energy with the play, but you have and your play is ST, so you're gonna be a reporter. Talk about being an ST reporter, but double feminine though, kind of interesting.
Yeah, so I thought about that, and I noticed that sometimes when I want to connect with people, I will ask them like very basic questions, like someone is sitting and reading something on a phone, and I will just sit to them and ask them, so how is going? I see that you are reading something on a phone, like very extremely reporter-like.
Yeah.
That's not enough at all, and I think that's one of the ways I connect with people. And also, like I said, trying new things that will work in reality, and being very flexible and being very tester-like in that. I think that's also the way in which that double feminine ST play can play out in me.
So the second part of your ST reporter play is extrovert sensing, and it's feminine also. So would you say you have a bad memory and you tend to forget facts and details? So after you talk to the person, they tell you all the facts, you probably forgot it already, or is that something that you're good at remembering? Because feminine sensory usually means bad memory, right?
Yeah, I think that's true. Like usually, if I don't care, and that's like a one-time occurrence that I have talked with someone, or that someone gave me some instructions on what to do, I usually forget a lot of that. However, as I have consume high, I tend to read quite a lot, and if I find one thing that will match up with my uh, masculine NI and masculine FI, so that I will read a lot, do a lot of consume on that. For example, I have like, I don't know why, but I'm quite interested in like demography, so populations of different places or different demographic ratios or different stat. Then I think that feminine sensory could express it in such way that I don't remember the exact numbers of many things. However, I'm very good at estimating the range, so I could give my results in some in some range that is very close. However, never close enough, like never perfectly the number that someone is asking for.
Let's look at your introvert intuition next, which is masculine. It's your second function, so supposedly it would be really good based on the order stack, but because it's not activating, you activate it in a demon state. How do you experience that introvert intuition? Like, does it ever come out? And it's masculine though, so you should be able to see it even though it's not activated. So how do you experience that masculine introvert intuition?
I think that because it is technically a demon and is also not activated, I think that it can show in a way that when I do quite a lot of consume or play, so I gathering new experiences
Yeah.
in sensory world, then I could like omit the intuition in a conscious state, so it shows in unconscious state that I lock on some pattern, and then I could not like unlock it, so it is locked like to my identity or my way of thinking, and I'm starting to see it everywhere. How, although I have locked to that pattern unconsciously, because an eye is a demon for me.
Right. You're also a double observer, so you're gonna be balanced with gathering and organizing. You're stronger at the gathering because you are technically like an EP version of the EJs, but so automatically you would be organizing right after, right? So that's your NI. So even though it's a demon, because you're still it's still in the middle, it would be very balanced. Now I like how you use the word it got locked in, which kind of makes it makes a lot of sense because it's masculine. Um, what do you mean when it's locked in though? Like you cannot, like it's there forever and you'll never forget it. The patterns are permanently, the concepts and patterns are permanently in there, and you can see it, even though subconscious it's subconscious when you did the organizing.
It's not like one-to-one. I think it could be the case if someone would be a single observer. So probably if there would be someone who would be a single observer of my type, So so the person that would have Ni fourth, that would be masculine, could struggle with that they could not escape that trap of being locked in on some masculine Ni pattern. However, I just saw that throughout my life that I had experienced uh, moments when I like just some pattern became really just really visible in many situations that it was probably not the case. And later on, if I would pay attention to that and focus on, oh, I'm overusing that pattern, uh, then I could like just throw it into trash and find for a new one. But but when we speak about the act of emerging of that pattern itself, so how does it come up to my mind? I think that's probably unconscious. A lot of unconsciousness there.
Got it. Let's look at your introvert feeling next. It's masculine and it's double activated. So you are like a weird EJ because even though EJs have trouble seeing their identity, because yours is double activated, you can see it, a lot. Um, so talk about your introvert feeling and having it double activated and having it masculine.
So I think that because it is masculine and it's double activated, I use it quite probably a lot more than like standard Myers-Briggs EJs. However, the problem is that I think that I do in many cases neglect my emotions, and I just focus more or getting things done and finding out what works in reality, ST, and think that's the priority. I should first make things done, and then I will ask myself how I feel about that, and it looks like some kind of pragmatism because I'm focused usually so much about the work itself. However, I had few situations in my life when uh, I experienced that disconnection from my feelings, like that I was pushing really hard in through ST play on something to get something done, and then I was feeling that uh, that my masculine FI is does not like that, and that I should not do that. However, because I was neglecting that FI, as it is fourth, and it will always be the fourth function, no matter the fact that it is masculine and double activated. I will come to some situation when I have like the internal conflict between what I value and what's my priority and what's like pragmatic. And I would be aware that I have that internal conflict. However, not aware uh, just as I'm starting doing something like some product or whatever, because it is fourth, so it would not be as strong as for those that have that in the middle or something like that.
Got it. Um, I'll be asking you some follow-up questions after we go through some of the animals, okay? Because this is super interesting. Let's start with your consume first. Your consume is SF. So you like to consume like the cool stuff, the fun, the cool. Talk about your SF consume. It's second, right? So you're going to be doing a lot of SF, and your consume is also double activated. So let's talk about that. This is going to be your biggest thing in your life that you're probably doing a lot.
So SF consume, I think I'm doing that a lot. However, it is still below the play. So like I said before, that ST play is doing the work for me, like just pushing in school, in work, whatever. But SF consume, I had a lot of moments where, for example, I knew that I like some very like shitty YouTube videos. For example, I will give you that sensory example. So I found on Polish YouTube a channel in which there's one guy who was a bouncer in a clubs for 10 years, just 350 pounds guy sitting on a bench in a park and telling about his whole life. Like when he was fighting with people, how he saw the people getting drunk, how he saw people in many different situations, like very extremely SF. So just very even animalistic stories about people in that kind of situations. There were like 80 episodes, and each episode was like 15 to 20 minutes long, and I have watched all of that. Like that's probably like how it may show up. However, I know that that consume must be below the ST play, because whenever I was watching that, I could not stop watching that, and I was thinking that's really funny, and that's something that helps me like relax, and I just like watching that. However, I knew that's still a shitty show about the life of some weird guy. So
Yeah, that's funny. As of consumes hilarious, I think. The kind of stuff that, because I think it's so funny because like ENTJs and INTJs they love watching that, like those shitty kind of shows, because you guys are so logical that I think to balance out your life you need to do something stupid in the back end, because life is a balance, right? So I've always loved that, like that balance. I think it's like the best, most hilarious thing. um let's go with your sleep. You have double masculine NF sleep. So you're gonna be double masculine NF sleep inside. You're gonna be a hippie inside. I mean, you kind of have a hippie haircut already. So talk about being a talk about being an NF hippie inside. Like a double masculine NF hippie.
So I think that important part about the sleep is that it is a demon, so it will catch me up, and not that I will like consciously go to the sleep mode. So it will catch me up, and not that I will catch my sleep, or you know what I mean. So usually it will show up after doing a lot of skibby, like dancing around, going, and then something will hit me. I will come to some really deep thoughts, and it could be hard to get out because of that double masculine modality of the sleep. So yeah, I think when the sleep hits me, I think that's really apparent to many people. I remember that a few years ago I was on some trip, and then there was a girl that just met me, and on the one day I was just doing like consume play with her, and we were getting really good vibes, and all of that. But then during the second day, I think like I have switched. I noticed that usually for me it's like just a switch. One day I could be going to display mode, and then I have some deep thought, like hippie NF thought about like some patterns, what I really like, that everything is pointless and all of that.
Yeah.
But I will just stay there, and it will be very dark, very like double masculine demon.
Yeah.
And I remember that during that second, it just instantly hit me, and that girl was just looking at me and say, I, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Like I was just sitting and looking like that.
Yeah.
And she said, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So she said that I must be doing something like very serious in my mind. But I'm just wondering whether someone hurt you really bad, or just you have such a deep thought inside, or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was, I think, good representation of how it may look from like outside world. Yeah, my sleep, I think, is quite dark because of that double masculinity and the fact that it's a demon.
Yeah.
And like really deep, like NF sleep. So it's not about pragmatic stuff. Then that's when those like metaphysical, philosophical, and all that stuff comes in. And yeah, that's, I think, some weird combination.
Yeah, that's your Jim Carrey's type, right? Except he's play blast consume sleep, right? So um like when he was talking about his NF sleep, also he talks about like I don't know the exact details, but something about like we're not really real or something, and then so it's like it is some dark stuff, but it's kind of true if you think about it. So a lot of existential thoughts, I guess, like why do we exist, the meaning of life, that's the kind of stuff that
Yeah, and also a lot of like emotions that were unprocessed, because as a savior feeler, as a lead feeler, I always need to have reasons for emotions. So for example, if I knew subconsciously that I liked something, for example, don't know, I would say that I want to live in certain place because like my FI is pointing in that direction, then I would research in Google 50 reasons why it is good 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 idea to live in that place, because oh, maybe there are lower taxes, maybe there are whatever, like some like very logical stuff like that could be compared, analyzed and measured. And you cannot do that infinitely. Like at some point it will hit you, and because you're creating that facade, like this. Mm, mm, I, I I cannot find the word. Like very delusional. You can be very delusional if you try to trick your emotions into reasons, because emotions will be there, and at some point, if you neglect them and try to put them in some logical boxes, they will catch up, and it will be then hard, especially if they're masculine.
Yeah, I can relate with you because I'm the same as you. I have double masculine sleep, so I can relate
Yeah.
to your experience. A little bit different. Your double masculine sleep is NF minus SF, but
Yeah.
there's some overlap there because they
Yeah.
both have FI. Okay, so because FI is your fourth function, typically, even though you have something in a savior state like consume or sleep, because of the order stack of the functions, from what I found, people who uses their fourth function a lot get get stressed out a lot, like when they use it, even if it's in a savior state and even if it's activated. Uh, for example, for me, I have SI as my fourth function, and Blast is actually a savior. It's second because I'm play Blast. But every time I blast, I get really stressed out. Like I have to organize the information and then I have to go teach it to people. I get so stressed out. Even though it's a savior state, I get stressed out because I'm using that fourth function. So do you feel like you have double activated FI because you're using it so much? Do you feel like you're stressed out a lot because you're always using it?
Uh, I think, as I tell you, the example of those shitty shows on YouTube, uh, I think that even though I felt much comfort watching them, I always had the feeling that no, that's not right thing to do. That's pointless, and in the long run, it will catch me up, and I shouldn't do that. Like I had just very uh, this not allowed state when doing that SF consume, and also in that NF sleep. I think that also it could be some stress, uh, but I'm not sure whether the stress is the right word. I think I would need to think about that more, because like just in the moment, I I, I think I don't see the stress itself, or at least how I understand the stress and the meaning of that word in those sleep and consume activities.
Well, I'll give you an example. So, Dave and Shan, when they typed Macy Williams, I think that's her name, the girl from Game of Thrones. I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones, but
No.
no, okay. Well, she's one of the characters in Game of Thrones. Her name's Arya. But anyway, they type her as an ISFP, right? But when you're watching her video, she feels like an ENFJ. She doesn't feel like an ISFP. But they saw something weird that she seems to be in a permanent stressed out anxiety state. Like her state was permanently like stress and anxiety. And they figured out it was because she has double activated TE at the bottom. And because she's using her fourth function so much, to deal with the tribe, that she's stressed out all day long because she's an IP. She's scared of the tribe, and she's doing it all day long because it's double activated. So she's in a permanent stressed out state.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking you, because since you're an ENTJ and your biggest life problem is essentially going to be looking at your identity and knowing who you are. The fact that it's staring at your face all day long and you don't want to look at it, but you have to look at it because it's double activated, would leave you in a stressed out state, right? So how do you relate with that statement at all? Like where when you're using your fourth function, you get really stressed out, especially someone like you who's double activating or double activated on that fourth function.
Yeah, I think that as you have mentioned that example, I think to some extent I could relate, and now I think that good example of that how it works in me could be that, like, since I will give you an introduction and the context. So throughout my life, I have been always like top of the class student in any subject, like because of that ST play. So I had that that always that pattern that I was jumping from one class to one class and being really a master, going to tournaments on very like high, like regional, state level or something like that. And I remember when I was 13, something like that. So that's pretty young age for such like serious thoughts. I have watched one motivational video from Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is very similar type to me, because he's the only difference is that he's not blast last, but sleep last, and he has masculine DE. Those are only differences. And in that motivational video, he said a lot like, you need to ask yourself, who do you want to be? So like FI, or what makes you happy? Like only such phrases, like he was preaching FI. And I remember that something like hit me in that motivational video, that I, from being 13, so the young age, so that was 6 years now, I kept watching that over and over again, like throughout almost those 6 years, because it always like kept me going. However, whenever I heard that phrase, like you need to figure out what makes you happy, or who do you want to be, I felt like no, like I could not get, I will not succeed in that. And I think that I had that uh, mm, like fear or stress that of that disconnection of, I know I want some things in life, and I know what is pragmatically the best option, and that will work out in reality. However, still, as I'm like doing that SF consume or NF sleep, and I'm going more into what really makes me happy, I just don't want to see that, because I know that it is complete opposite from what is like pragmatically working in reality. So that I'm trying to like reject that, and yeah, then I think that I could feel some kind of stress.
Got it. Well, I think it's good that you watch it over and over again, because I feel like that probably helped you a lot. Especially those very important question that he asks. Like, who do you want to be? Like, that's a really good question
Yeah.
to ask. It's something to think about. It's your NF sleep too, right? So that you're gonna be like stuck thinking about it all day, um, which I think benefited you a lot. Um, you are energy dominant, so you are gonna be balanced with expending energy and then preserving energy. So talk about being balanced with those two.
Mm, I cannot find like any example. However, I think I have noticed in people how often people just do something for the sake of doing that, or do something in not energy efficient way. For example, if they can go straight and like go 50 meters, but instead they go in those different way that they end up going 80 meters, I think why have they done so? Or for example, if can, like, yeah, I think I could notice lack of energy and efficiency in people. However, it's quite surprising to me that I can notice that, because I'm play first, so technically I would be the one to expend on energy mindlessly to the greatest extent. So I don't know whether I'm seeing that. I'm guessing that that's because of me being energy dominant, or maybe I'm not seeing that, and there's so much else to see, and I'm only seeing those like few examples and then peacocking. But I don't know really. Or yeah, I have another example how it may play out in my life. So that, for example, if I have some routine, then I will try to optimize that. So I'm still want to do a lot of things, like because of the savior play, that I want to do more, and have like productive days. However, if I'm doing something for a prolonged period of time, I will notice some ways in which I can improve like the efficiency of doing one thing. So especially when it comes to time, so doing something in less time, and yeah, that's that may be the example.
Got it. Um, my next question for you is your last animal, which is anti-blast. So your blast last. Can you talk about you being blast last and some kind of problem you've had for being blast last?
So one of the problems, I think, that I tend to speak in disorganized manner, and the fact that I'm ST can alleviate to some extent. However, as I remember when I was very young, like 6 years old or something, uh, generally people have a difficult time to. Is everything right?
So, Adam, can you? I'll just repeat my question again because we had like a little bit of a technical difficulty. Um, how do you use your blast last, which is anti last?
So I think that I can see that can see the reasons why it is last, because I really find it hard to tell other people what to do. I always thought that people generally should do whatever they do, and if they do something that's bad, then that's their problem, and if they're doing something stupid, then and of course like that would be their fault. However, yeah, I think that's coming from this blast last, so that I don't really want to control the tribe. And if you're asking how I'm using blast fourth, that is NT, I think that's hard to answer, and I would answer that I'm practically not using that, because I can recall many situations in which I have found some anti concepts, and I want to teach the tribe, and that said to me that they don't understand a shit what I'm talking about, so I just
Yeah,
left them.
that's funny.
So I guess that I have a lot of stuff to do in that area.
Now, the interesting thing about your blast is it's your first two functions. So even though it's last, it's your first two functions. So they like from the videos that Steve and Chan have made of people who are like are glass lizards who are the opposite, like double activated under fourth function and no activation under first two function. It seems like when you actually want to use it though, you can use it like once you get going. So it's just hard to get going, but once you do get going, it's okay. Um, have you found out for yourself that yeah, at first no one understand what you're saying, but like once you keep trying and you get going, you can become more clear and it makes sense, or is it still difficult altogether?
Mm, maybe, however, I think that I could really not exposed myself to a lot of situations in which I decided to keep going because of the fact that it is fourth. So I always uh, uh, just try to mm, not really get myself to the situation in which I would be supposed to either control or teach the tribe something. I think. Like, I'm saying so because I cannot really find any sensory example in which I can remember that I was using that anti-blast. Like, I have empty space in my memory now, so I would not like give you some uh, answers out of nowhere, because I think that would be pointless.
Gotcha. What about what about you being a visual? So you're tester first, but you're visual second. You're gonna have a visual memory. How
Yes.
good is your visual memory and being able to see, like remembering the visuals, and
I
are you
think
also
how
good
I
with, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
continue. Just
Yeah, no, I was
if
just gonna
you
add, are you also good with like drawing or painting and all
uh,
that stuff? Okay.
not at all. I think that that many teachers also in school have also told me that I must have dyslexia. I've never done the test. However, my handwriting is very messy and disorganized. So, and I'm not so artistic. However, I have many situations in which I think that could be example of the visual memory. So I noticed that very often, and I would even say usually, when I want to Google something, I will immediately switch to Google Images and like first look at the images of something and click from the images and not read the links on the main page of Google search. I don't know why, but I just like look. Mm, I just noticed that pattern, and also that's like very like basic stuff that I'm doing, but I also noticed some like more weird stuff that, for example, when I remember when I was back in primary and secondary school, and for example on maths, when there was some questions, I have found that I was like seeing the answer. So I was like looking at the question and not knowing what to do, but I was like seeing what should I write? And then teachers were always mad at me, like you cannot skip those steps. But I like tell them, but I see in my mind what's the answer? What should I put there?
You're skipping steps, eh? Do you think you're skipping steps because you're not info dominant?
Maybe like this plus last, and that those situations were really really hard because I have this NT. So how the stuff works blast for. So
Yeah.
whenever the teacher got mad at me that I'm skipping those steps, I could not really tell them why I'm doing so, because like I lack this NT blast, so I could not like explain to them, but I was really seeing that those
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah, maybe you need to work on your drawing instead, so you can draw it for them. Because if you can't say it, at least you should be able to draw pictures, right?
Yeah.
um, okay, got it. All right. So I don't know if oh yeah. So because you're an EJ, one of your biggest life problem is supposedly, I don't know how you feel about this or how you interact with this, but your identity is going to be your life problem essentially. Would you say you have problems with your identity, or is that like something that you've had issues with? It's like knowing who you are, you know, and doing things for
Uh,
yourself.
I think to some extent it is a problem that, for example, I will find myself that I could be really focused on some goal and have a feeling that, oh, that's the right thing to do. I should do that. And then catch myself that I don't really like that. I don't really care about that. I
Yeah,
was always looking just at this pragmatic side of things. And and if I look in the future, I could not see doing myself in that future. And yeah, that's hard situation because you cannot really like uh, fix that. The only thing you can do that is like in such situation is to do something all over again, so restart doing something or change direction. But that's also painful because if you have that S and T, you can see that it will like set you back. In reality, it will really hurt your progress. So that's also always the tough decision. So yes, I think that, but I do not really have that much problems with like self and tribe. However, I think when it comes to DI last, it may play out in a way that I may sometimes be unconscious of that. And for example, I want secretly that significance, and I will harass the tribe with all that double feminine play so that they are really confused because they don't know what I really want, and I may come up as needy. but then I have this this blast, so I will not communicate with the tribes. For example, I will get uh, invited to some party and I would decide, oh, I will not go there and I will not tell anyone about that. And then later on, when I will see those people, I will also not communicate with them. But I will still be like very feminine. So I think that I had many situations in which that made people confused,
Yeah.
and the end result was kind of like IP problems. So the tribe is out to get me,
Yeah.
and the people are saying, "What do you want?" Like you are constantly like leaving us hanging and not caring about us, because also the FI, so caring and
Yeah.
emotions, is not there. And yeah, that's the reason I think I have typed myself as ISTP for quite a long time before I decided to type myself as INFJ jumper.
Got it. I think from the sound of your story, it's more of an EP problem actually. Like, because the story that you said, I relate to it. Like, I'm the kind of person when I was younger that I would be invited someplace and I don't show up because I don't feel like going. And and I think it's like just being an irresponsible EP, like just
Yeah, yeah,
not being
like
reliable.
my type is most EP type of INTJ, so
Yeah, yeah,
that
you're
makes
yeah,
it
you're the
easier.
most ENTJ type. So
Yeah,
you are like double activated consume. Like you are super chaotic and you're not gonna be reliable at all. So that makes sense that you have a lot. You get tribe hate for being unreliable.
yeah,
So uh,
yeah.
it doesn't seem
But
like it's for being selfish. It's being unreliable.
yeah, yeah. But if the tribe asked me like or said to me that I'm unreliable, I will look at like my double masculine uh, identity and double masculine NI. I would say no. I really know what I want to do and how I want to do and how I want to things play out. I'm really reliable.
Yeah,
So yeah, that would be weird.
yeah. All right, Adam. Last two questions and then we'll wrap up the interview. First one is, how do you think you can better improve your blast so that you don't come across as unreliable, or you don't come up so, and you can communicate with your teachers or friends. If you don't show up to a party, for example, you can tell them. If the teacher asks you how you got to the answer, you can tell them. How can you blast, how can you practice using blast? How do you think you can practice blast?
Uh, to be honest, I think I have not figured that out yet. And that's one of the things that makes me worried, because now, after getting the type back, I see that it is a problem. However, I'm still wondering what I could do. And I also found another guy that's exactly the exact same type as me, that is also in the community. And I have asked him about that because I thought that maybe he have thought about that and have that figured out. However, it turned out that he also does not know the answer. So I think it may be a long way ahead of me, and yeah, a lot of work to do in that
Yeah,
area.
there's another girl that I interviewed that is exactly the same type as you. I don't know if you saw
Yeah.
her in the class. Alex.
Uh, I think I have saw that interview, your interview with her.
Yeah, yeah, she's exactly like you. You guys are the same. All right,
Yeah,
dude. Last question is, do you have any last minute question for me before we wrap up the interview?
yeah. Uh, Do you have any tips on Blast? Because you said you are play Blast, so maybe you have some Blaster tips on how to improve Blast.
Maybe. Let's see. Your blast is what? NITE? So it's the same as the INTJ's blast.
Yeah,
So you need to watch like Dave and like all those people that is using NT blast. I think you need to watch like INTJs like besides Dave, you can watch Robert Kiyosaki or what's his name? Um Athlete and X. Do you watch the fitness channel? athleteandx.com
yeah,
with Jeff Cavalier. He's an
yeah,
INTJ, he's type as an INTJ, right? So um Yeah, so those guys, they always have like a concept. It's abstract. I think Robert Kiyosaki is the easiest one to follow because um his his um his blast, like you can just copy it and then just make something for yourself. Like for example, he has like a four quadrant system. So it's like a box, IJ box, right? So there's a box, and inside the box there's four boxes. The ice, they're obsessed with four. So there's four boxes inside the box. So there's a box inside the box. It's so stupid. And then on the left side of the box, it's like his concept is how to trade your time for money. And then on the right side is how to make your money work for you. So these are all abstract concept, right? And then on the right side, on how to make your money work for you, the first box is um, having real estate. So you buy a property and then you rent out the property, and then the property um, generates income for you, right? And then below it, it's like you make investments, and your investment has interest, and it generates income for you. But then on the other side, you working for money, trading time for money, it's like you go to a job and you run your job, right? Or you have a business, but the business owns your time. So that's kind of like the NITE concept. Like it's not concrete. It's abstract that he made up. But if you put in the sensory in each of those boxes, you can come up with a sensory result. Like the real estate one is kind of straightforward. Like you buy a house, rent it out to people, and then you make money. So that's kind of NI. But it has to be original, because NI is original, right? So you have to make up your own like bullshit NI concept that and tell it to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like OP is exactly the same as that stupid box, right? There's EP, IJ, IP and EP, right? So it's the same. So just copy. Start with a box. Take a piece of paper. Your visual, right? Take a freaking piece of paper, draw a box, and then put another box inside, and then put some shit in those boxes. I don't know. I don't know what you want to put. Put some shit in there.
Seems like really mastermind plan for me.
Yeah, it's a start. I don't know. I don't know what you're gonna put in a box. That's up to you. I don't have NI, but whatever shit you put in a box, here's the worst part. Okay, you're gonna cringe after you have the box and the four boxes inside, and you put your damn concept inside. You have to tell it to your friends, and they might think you're stupid or retarded, but you but that's what you need to do, because it's blast, right? You can't just keep it to yourself. You have to tell people this thing.
Yeah.
And if people think you're stupid, that's okay. That's a feedback, because then now you can fix it. Because some of your friends will think, okay, you're onto something. You just need to fix it around. Some of your friends will just straight up think you're an idiot, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
And that
Blaster's life really must be very interesting.
yeah, because a lot of people do think they're idiots, right? But the ones who got it right, because after you look like an idiot for so many years, you can eventually, like David Chan, what did they say about OPS? They threw shit at the wall until something stuck, right? And then now you have this perfect system. So you do have to.
I think that I align with that phrase, that throw shit at the wall. Like, I think that being SETE, I have done that many times in my life, and that usually was the primary way of solving many problems for me. However, I think that I'm missing that blast, in the sense that I cannot stop and build, or like Dave and Sean used to say, stack. So put all those things one on another, and usually that happens in times when this double masculine sleep comes in, and I think that that what I am doing is pointless, and I need to go to another stuff, and so I need to work on that, I guess.
I feel like you have to start with your FI first. Like, you need to know what you care about, because like Dave cares about OPS. Well, like he cared about Myers-Briggs first, but he also cared the fact that it was not objective. So because of that, those feelings he had, he worked on it by throwing shit at the wall. Now, you throw shit at the wall also, but he blasts us to people. You don't blast, right? You when you throw shit, you're helping people fix their problem, not teaching people like a concept, right? So and like I don't know how many like I like the life of a blaster. It's a cruel one because you do come across as an idiot for many years before people take you seriously, right? Because
Yeah.
your ideas at first they're not fine tuned yet, right? Like when Dave released OPS, there were so many problems with it, right? But
Yeah.
like over the years they fine tuned it. But and the only way you can fine tune it is getting that feedback from the tribe. And the only way you can get the feedback from the tribe is when you blasted them your concept, your box with a 4 quadrant or some shit, and then you just tell them, um, and and I feel like if you don't do that, you can't build.
Yeah.
You can't build because then you because if you don't even try blasting once, then you have nothing to work with. It's
Yeah. But I'm wondering about that phrase that you need to start by developing FI, because I have also came across that idea that if you try to jump to the fourth function, then you will end up burning out, because it will be a too hard of a challenge. So you
yeah.
should rather approach the third function, so NI. What are your thoughts about that?
Okay, that makes sense because the fourth function is essentially the finish line.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe for you the order would be a little bit different because FI is the last one. Okay, in that case, I feel like I'm just thinking with my SI, I showed people all the information, all the facts that I've organized over the years, and when I did present it to people, I felt insecure about it, and I felt like weird about it too. Like I did feel weird when I was showing people my SI, and but like I did work hard on it for many years to fine tune it, so it's work in progress. Um, but I did use my TE and FI to figure out that SI. So I think for you to find the FI, the finish line, you do need to use your NI. And I think the problem that you're gonna try to solve is an identity problem because that's the NT that you're gonna need to solve.
Yeah.
Although they probably solved it for you already with OPS. So
Yeah.
so I don't know what you're gonna do now because someone already took it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
well, what? Hey, why don't you start blasting something that you already know? Why don't you blast OPS to people? Because that's also NT blast, right?
Uh,
Why don't you
like
start with that?
I have tried quite many times, because I have started being into OPS back in 2018. So in this like June 2018. So that's almost at the beginnings. So I have some experience there, and I remember that throughout the beginning of my journey there, I have tried to like tell people why it is really a breakthrough, and that's why it's the game changer. Because as I have some quite intensive processing after receiving the type, I figured out that really, if I ask myself that question of Arnold Schwarzenegger, what makes you happy and like who do you want to be, I thought that that must be something connected to OPS, and I think that I finally have find an answer to that question, like what exactly would I like to do, and that would be creating the AI for typing people, because I have previously thought that I would go into tech, to like data science and math and all that stuff.
Yeah,
And now, and also deep down in my heart was that OPS. So I think that I need to clamp those ideas together to get something that would like be the ikigai. So what I can do, what pays well, what I care about, what people need, and all that stuff. However, even though like you probably I said about that to like give you a background how deeply I care and how deeply interested I am in OPS. Whenever I try to tell people about that, I have like started from many different angles. For example, uh, the general concept, why it is needed, like why it is better than MBTI and all that stuff. The people were also like something doing that expression like that, like yeah, but yeah, that sounds very interesting, but I don't really understand what you are talking about.
Yeah.
And or something like, yeah, that sounds really like nice thing, but you know what, I think that if I would, if as I'm not interested in that as you, I will probably not understand that, so keep it for yourself, or something along
That
these
makes sense.
lines.
Yeah, yeah. You can't do, so a lot of people don't care, so you can't
Yeah.
really. You have to find
And
someone I think that cares about MBTI before.
yeah, I have found one guy who I have introduced to that, like one my close friend who is now getting really deep into that. But yeah, still, even when I try to tell him about uh, that and do that anti-blast, so tell how all the parts work, I get a feeling that he's really confused when I talk about that. But maybe that's the person in which I could develop my anti-blast, as at least he want to listen to what I am saying.
Right. Yeah, just bother him. All
Yeah.
right, dude. Thanks for coming out and doing this interview today. Really appreciate it, man. So
Okay.
enjoy the rest of your day and take care. All right.
Yeah. Bye.
See you.